Hello my sweeties and welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Celise and thank you for joining my spooky little family. In today's video, we will be talking about low-rated horror films that I actually like. Oh my god, it sounded like the TikTok lady.
In today's video, we will be talking about low-rated horror films that I actually like.
Let's get into the video. Okay, so I actually thought that while making this list, it would be difficult to find some films that are low rated that I actually did enjoy, but it really wasn't. Turns out I like a lot of trash. And with that, let's get right into it. At number 10, we have Deadline, directed by Sean McInville. This film has a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. A screenwriter travels to an abandoned house to finish a script on time, but a series of strange events leads her to a psychological breakdown. This film stars Brittany Murphy, and this was actually one of her last films before she passed away. If you guys know anything about her death, you know that she died in the bathroom, and the cover of this film haunted me because she is on the cover in a bathtub and truly haunting. So this film has a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I know that it's bad, but I really like it. There really is something about Thora Birch as a ghost for me. Not to mention, I do think that Brittany Murphy is great in this movie. I know she doesn't have too much to work with and the script is a bit mediocre, but she's great, obviously. And I think that the movie also has this really nice look to it. I know not everybody is gonna agree, but I absolutely love how green this movie is. It's giving me some serious Ring vibes. It's just very depressing, and there are a lot of really depressing lines in this movie, so I think maybe I'm just sad.
Cheers, I'll drink to that, bro.
But this movie, for me, is also one of those films that are like a comfort movie. Like, this is one that I would watch just to relax. Meanwhile, it's so depressing. Even though I think the director really thought, he went off with, the open end. Even though he thinks he went off, it kind of was okay. Not everything has to be great to like it. I also am just a sucker for ghost love story horror movies. This is not a love story, but it's kind of a love story that went wrong. And I like that. What can I say? I'm sappy. Now at number 9, we have The Possession from 2012, directed by Ole Bornedal. This film got a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought that the score would have been worse, but 39%, not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. A young girl buys an antique box at a yard sale, unaware that inside the collectible lives a malicious, ancient spirit. The girl's father teams with his ex-wife to find a way to end the curse upon their child. This film stars Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and if you've been on my channel for a while, you know the fucking vibes.
Sugar Daddy, Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
I know what many people are gonna say. They're gonna say this film sucks, but listen to me. This film is good. Really. The story is there. The acting is great. The acting from Jeffrey Dean Morgan is so good. Our leading lady, Natasha Callis, she kills it. I don't know how old she was in this movie, but she was terrifying. She does such a great job. I am really gonna say she does as good as a job as Linda Blair in The Exorcist. Yes, I did say that. Also, I think that the story and the lore is interesting. One thing I will say that is pretty awful about this movie, and we cannot forgive it, is that awful CGI. Overall, though, I think this film was directed pretty well. I think that the cast was great. And I don't know, there are moments where it is kind of creepy, and I still find it creepy to this day. Now at number 8, we have Afterlife. After a car accident, a young woman caught between life and death meets a funeral director who claims to have the gift of transitioning the dead into the afterlife. This film stars Christina Ricci, Justin Long, and Liam Neeson. If you have been here for a while and you've seen my videos from a while back, you guys know I love this movie. This movie has significant meaning to me because this is the first movie I ever watched with my best friend Melissa, like 10 years ago, and also Justin Long. Afterlife has a 25% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I will say, yes, I understand. I understand. It's not the best, but I like it. I think both Christina Ricci and Justin Long do a great job. I definitely believe that they're in a complicated relationship. I also think that Liam Neeson does a great job, but really, when does Liam Neeson not do a great job? And to be honest, the thought of this happening to me has always kind of scared me, so this movie has stuck with me. I have really never forgotten this film. I will say this is another movie that has definitely at times some weird CGI, but other than that, I think the vibes are there. I liked it. I like the way it looks. Now at number 7, we have one that everyone is gonna hate me for, and that is My Soul to Take, directed by Wes Craven. A serial killer returns to his hometown to stalk 7 children who share the same birthday as the date he was allegedly put to rest. This film has a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. And let me say, I don't understand why. I'm sorry, I don't understand why. This movie at the time was one of those films that was on Sci-Fi like all of the time, and I watched it all the time. I think that the idea behind this movie is interesting. And also, even though it wasn't really scary and it was definitely a different direction for Wes Craven to take, I mean, it was a good time. I would say that it's a guilty pleasure, but I'm also just not gonna apologize for liking this movie. So now at number 6, I have one that recently became a favorite of mine, and that is Crywolf, directed by Jeff Wadlow. 8 unsuspecting high school seniors at a posh boarding school who delight themselves on playing games of lies come face to face with terror and learn that nobody believes a liar, even when they're telling the truth. Crywolf has a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes, and again, this is definitely one that I don't understand why. No, I think that the story is interesting. I think that the twist was done pretty well in this movie. I think that all our actors were quite strong. I really love seeing Jared Padalecki in this film. He's fabulous. We also have Julianne Morris, who is great and was in a lot of horror films during that time. And honestly, this is just one of those movies that it keeps you guessing and you're kind of like, ooh, who is it? What's going on? And I really like that. I will say that even though this one is good, I can understand why some horror fans don't like it. I know there is not a lot of gore in this movie and the kills are really not that interesting, but it's still fun. I am somebody that I don't really think that every horror film needs a crazy amount of gore to be good. Now at number 5, we have See No Evil, directed by Gregory Dark. A group of delinquents are sent to clean the Blackwell Hotel. Little do they know, recluse psychopath Jacob Goodnight has holed away in the rotting hotel. Wow, this synopsis is fucking crazy. When one of the teens is captured, those who remain, a group that includes the cop who put a bullet in Goodnight's head 4 years ago, band together to survive against the brutal killer. This film has a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm going to say I 100% understand why. This movie by no means is good. It's not. And to be honest, I actually enjoy See No Evil 2 a lot more, probably because of Danielle Harris and Catherine Isabel. But I don't know, there's something about that scene in this movie where he just swallows the girl's like flip phone. Iconic. But really, this movie is absolutely ridiculous. Our leading man is Kane from the WWE, and, you know, It definitely was a horror movie. Now at number 4, we have a film that I really thought, I 100% thought I was gonna hate it. But I watched it with one of my best friends and now I'm a fan. That is Black Christmas from 2006, directed by Glenn Morgan. On Christmas Eve, an escaped maniac returns to his childhood home, which is now a sorority house, and begins to murder the sorority sisters one by one. Black Christmas 2006 has a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think I understand why it's so low rated. I think that this movie, the cinematography looks really good. It's like really beautifully shot. There's a lot of cool scenes. I think there are a lot of creative kills. And also we have like a great cast in this movie. We have Mary Elizabeth Winstead, icon. We have all these amazing people. We have Brianna Evigan from Sorority Row. I will say that this film did do a lot of weird things that the original Black Christmas didn't do, specifically the whole story about Billy and his mom. That was a bit disturbing and dark, like a little too weird and disturbing for me. I personally prefer the original Black Christmas over this, but this one is, you know, it's good, it's fun. I think that it's one of those movies that has a lot of rewatchability and is definitely one to just flick on and have a good time with your friends. Now at number 3, we have Valentine, directed by Jamie Banks. 5 women are stalked by an unknown assailant while preparing for Valentine's Day. Okay, this film has a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. That just makes a lot of sense. Okay, the reason I like Valentine is because the kills in this movie are straight fire. They are so good. Specifically, the kill with Denise Richards is amazing. I want to recreate it. I want to be Denise Richards in this movie. I also really do like the killer's mask in this, it being Cupid's head. I love that. And I think this is just one of those movies that it's a silly slasher and that's really all it is. So there really is not too much to say. Obviously, the writing is not at all incredible, but is this movie a fun time? It is. Is the twist at the end really that shocking? It isn't. Now at number 2, we have one that I have rewatched so many times, and I know so many people hate this movie, but it is Halloween Resurrection, directed by Rick Rosenthal. 3 years after he last terrorized his sister, Michael Myers confronts her again, before traveling to Haddonfield to deal with the cast and crew of a reality TV show, which is being broadcast from his old house. This film also has a 12% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that the idea of having this reality TV show in like the old Michael Myers house is just hilarious. It's hilarious. I think Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks being in this was also a lot of fun. And I don't know, this one is just a good time. I don't even really know how to explain because I know it's awful, but again, like, I love it. I also do think that some of the kills in this movie were a lot of fun too. I just think that this movie definitely knew what it was. It knew that it was silly, it knew it was ridiculous, and I personally feel like it didn't really take itself that seriously, and that is why I liked it. Ooh, next up is one that I am so excited to say is in my number 1 spot, and that is The Rite, directed by Mikael Hafstrom. American seminary student Michael Kovac travels to Italy to take an exorcism course. Wow, that is the shortest synopsis I've ever read. This film stars the King, Anthony Hopkins. And honey, Anthony Hopkins is amazing. I mean, he's amazing in everything, but he really did it for me in this movie. There's something about the ending and his performance at the end of this movie that has always stuck with me. It has always terrified me. Like, of course, his performance in Silence of the Lambs has always terrified me, like my whole life. But I will say that he he brought that in this movie. It was amazing. This film has a 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, and this is one that I really don't understand why either. I think that it is directed well. I think the story and the ideas are there. I think the performances were great. I do think there is a lot of weird CGI in this one as well, but I feel like all the horror movies during this time had awful CGI. So even saying that, to me, it just doesn't matter. I've accepted it at this point. But I will say I am a sucker for any kind of exorcism movie. Like, love it. I love it. If you have not seen this one, I highly recommend it. I think it's a good time, and I definitely do think that there were moments in this movie that were genuinely creepy, and I will stand by that. All right, you guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps me a lot. And be sure to click that little notification bell to be up to date every single time I upload. And please let me know in the comments, what are some low-rated horror films that you enjoy, that you know everybody else hates and did absolutely terrible on Rotten Tomatoes. Also, let me know if there are any on this list that you also enjoy. I'd love to talk about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.